Mushy. I'm your host, Spiffy Tate, and welcome back to another reading of the Book of Mormon. Now, in this episode, we'll be reading chapter 53, back where we left off here, and, it's been, interesting, to say the least. I've been liking what I've been reading so far. Not much really to say. I mean, nothing negative for the most part, I would say. At least I'm just kind of excited right now because we're getting close to the end. We're getting there, at least to this book. But let's see what chapter 53 says. The Lamanite prisoners are used to fortify the city Bountiful. Dissensions among the Nephites give rise to Lamanite victories. Helaman takes command of the 2,000 strapling sons of the people of Ammon. Alright. And it came to pass that they did set guards over the prisoners of the Lamanites, and did compel them to go forth and bury their dead, yea, and also the dead of the Nephites, who were slain. And Moroni placed men over them to guard them while they should perform their labors. And Moroni went to the city of Mulek with Lehi, and took command of the city, and gave it unto Lehi. Now behold, this Lehi was a man who had been with Moroni in the most part of all his battles. And he was a man like unto Moroni, and they rejoiced in each other's safety. Yea, they were beloved by each other, and also beloved by all the people of Nephi. And it came to pass that after the Lamanites had finished burying their dead, and also the dead of the Nephites, they were marched back into the land Bountiful. And Tenuchem, by the order of Moroni, caused that they should commence laboring and digging a ditch round about the land, or the city Bountiful. And he caused that they should build a breastwork of timber upon the inner bank of the ditch, and they cast up dirt out of the ditch against the breastwork of timbers. And thus they did cause the Lamanites to labor until they had encircled the city of Bountiful round about with a strong wall of timbers and earth to an exceeding height. And this city became an exceedingly stronghold ever after. And in this city they did guard the prisoners of the Lamanites, yea, even within a wall which they had caused them to build with their own hands. Now Moroni was compelled to cause the Lamanites to labor, because it was easy to guard them while at their labor. And he desired all his forces when he should make an attack upon the Lamanites. And it came to pass that Moroni had thus gained a victory over one of the greatest of the armies of the Lamanites, and had obtained possession of the city of Mulek, which was one of the strongest holds of the Lamanites in the land of Nephi. And thus he had also built a stronghold to retain his prisoners. And it came to pass that he did no more attempt at battle with the Lamanites in that year, but he did employ his men in preparing for war, yea, in making fortifications to guard against the Lamanites, yea, and also delivering their women and their children from famine and affliction, and providing food for their armies. And now it came to pass that the armies of the Lamanites on the west sea south, while in the absence of Moroni on account of some intrigue among the Nephites, which caused dissension amongst them, had gained some ground over the Nephites, yea, insomuch that they had obtained possession of a number of their cities in that part of the land. And thus, because of the iniquity among themselves, yea, because of dissensions and intrigue among themselves, they were placed in the most dangerous circumstances. And now behold, I have somewhat to say concerning the people of Ammon, who in the beginning were Lamanites, but by Ammon and his brethren, or rather by the power and the word of God, they had been converted unto the Lord, and they had been brought down into the land of Zarahemla, and had ever since been protected by the Nephites. And because of their oaths, they had been kept from taking up arms against their brethren, for they had taken an oath that they never would shed blood more. And according to their oath, they would have perished. Yea, they would have suffered themselves to have fallen into the hands of their brethren, had it not been for the pity and the exceeding love which Ammon and his brethren had I said it twice, yes, had for them. And for this cause they were brought down in the land of Zarahemla, and they ever had been protected by the Nephites. But came to pass that when they saw the danger and the many afflictions and tribulations which the Nephites bore for them, they were moved with compassion, and were desirous to take up arms in the defense of their country. But behold, as they were about to take up their weapons of war, they were overpowered by the persuasions of Helaman and his brethren, for they were about to break the oath which they had made. And Helaman feared lest by so doing they should lose their souls. Therefore all those who had entered into this covenant were compelled to behold their brethren wad through their afflictions and their dangerous circumstances at this time. But behold, it came to pass they had many sons which had not entered into a covenant, that they would not take their weapons of war to defend themselves against their enemy. Therefore they did assemble themselves together at this time, as many as were able to take up arms, as they called themselves Nephites. And they entered into a covenant to fight for the liberty of the Nephites, yea, to protect their land unto the lying down of their lives. Yea, even they covenanted that they would never give up their liberty, but they would fight in all cases to protect the Nephites and themselves from bondage. Now behold, there were 2,000 of those young men who entered into this covenant and took their weapons of war to defend their country. And now behold, as they never had hitherto been a disadvantage to the Nephites, they became now at this period of time also a great support. For they took their weapons of war, and they would that Helaman should be their leader. And they were all young men. And they were exceedingly valiant for courage, and also for strength and activity. But behold, this was not all. They were men who were true at all times in whatsoever thing they were entrusted. Yea, they were men of truth and soberness, for they had been taught to keep the commandments of God, and to walk uprightly before him. And now it came to pass that Helaman did march at the head of his 2,000 strapling soldiers, the support of the people in the borders of the land on the south by the west sea. And thus ended the 20th and 8th year of the reign of the judges over the people of Nephi. Alright, awesome. Done with that chapter. On through chapter 54. Moran and Moroni negotiate for the exchange of prisoners. Moroni demands that the Lamanites withdraw and cease their murderous attacks. Moran demands that the Nephites lay down their arms and become subjects to the Nephites. Ooh, okay. They're just bickering at each other. And now it came to pass in the commencement of the 20th and 9th year of the judges that Moran sent unto Moroni, desiring that he would exchange prisoners. And it came to pass that Moroni felt to rejoice exceedingly at this request, for he desired the provisions which were imparted for the support of the Lamanite prisoners, for the support of his own people, and he also desired his own people for the strengthening of his army. Now the Lamanites had taken many women and children, and there was not a woman nor a child among all the prisoners of Moroni, or the prisoners whom Moroni had taken. Therefore Moroni resolved upon a stratagem to obtain as many prisoners of the Nephites from the Lamanites as it were possible. Therefore he wrote an estrel and sent it to by the servant of Ammoron, the same who had brought an epistle to Moroni. I'm assuming that's some kind of letter, guys. Now these are the words which he wrote unto Ammoron, saying, Behold, Ammoron, I have written unto you somewhat concerning this war which ye have waged against my people, or rather which thy brother hath waged against them, and which ye are still determined to carry on after his death. Behold, I would tell you somewhat concerning the justice of God, the sword of his almighty wrath, which doth hang over you, except ye repent and withdraw your armies into your own land, or the land of your possession, which is the land of Nephi. Yea, I would tell you these things if ye were capable of hearkening unto them. Yea, I would tell you concerning that awful hell that awaits to receive such murderers, as though as thy brother has been, except ye repent and withdraw your murderous purposes, and return with your armies to your own land. But as ye have once rejected these things, and have fought against the people of the Lord, even so I may, except you will do it again. And now behold, we are prepared to receive you. Yea, and except you withhold your purposes, behold, ye will be put down. The wrath of that God whom you have rejected upon you, even to your utter destruction. But as the Lord liveth, our armies shall come upon you, except ye withdraw, and ye shall soon be visited with death, for we will retain our cities and our land. Yea, and we will maintain our religion and the cause of our God. But behold, it supposeth me that I talk to you concerning these things in vain, or it supposeth me that thou art a child of hell. Therefore I will close my epistle by telling you that I will not exchange prisoners, save it be on conditions that ye will deliver up a man and his wife and his children for one prisoner. If this be the case that ye will do it, I will exchange. And behold, if ye do not this, if ye do not this, I will come against you with my armies. Yea, even I will arm my women and my children, and I will come against you, and I will follow you even into your own land, which is the land of our first inheritance. Yea, and it shall be blood for blood, yea, life for life, and I will give you battle even until you are destroyed from off the face of the earth. Behold, I am in my anger, and also my people. Ye have sought to murder us, and we have only sought to defend ourselves. But behold, if ye will seek to destroy us more, we will seek to destroy you. Yea, and we will seek our land, and the land of our first inheritance. Now I close my epistle that I am a Moroni. I am a leader of the people of Nephites. Now it came to pass that Ammoron, which when he had received this epistle, was angry, and he wrote another epistle unto Moroni, and these are the words which he wrote, saying, jeez, I wonder what he has to say. Get some water, guys. You know what I mean? Just gotta have some water. the summertime, so it'd be quite hot. No. My book over there. What was I? I was on verse 16. That's what I was doing. Turned up my fan a bit. It's pretty hot right now. I am Amaron, the king of the Lamanites. I am the brother of Alma, whom ye have murdered. Behold, I will avenge his blood upon you, yea, and I will come upon you with my armies, for I fear not your threatenings. For behold, your fathers did wrong their brethren, insomuch that they did rob them of their right to the government when it rightly belonged unto them. And now behold, if ye will lay down your arms and subject yourselves to be governed by those to whom the government doth rightly belong, then will I cause that my people shall lay down their weapons and shall be at war no more. Behold, ye have breathed out many threatenings against me and my people. But behold, we fear not your threatenings. Nevertheless, I will grant to exchange prisoners according to your request, gladly, that I may preserve my food for my men of war. And we will wage a war which shall be eternal, either to the subjecting the Nephites to our authority, or to their eternal extinction. And as concerning that God whom ye say we have rejected, behold, we know not such a being, neither do ye. But if it so be that there is such a being, we know not but that he hath made us as well as you. And if it so be that there is a devil and a hell, behold, will he not send you there to dwell with my brother whom ye have murdered, whom ye have hinted that he hath gone to such a place? But behold, these things matter not. I am Amaron, and a descension of Zoram, whom your father pressed and brought out of Jerusalem. And now behold, I am a bold Lamanite. Behold, this war hath been waged to avenge their wrongs, and to maintain and to obtain their rights to the government, and I close my epistle to Moroni. Interesting comeback letter, guys. Let's go to chapter 55. Moroni refuses to exchange prisoners. The Lamanite guards are enticed to become drunk, and the Nephite prisoners are freed. The city of Gid is taken without bloodshed. Now it came to pass that when Moroni had received this epistle, he was more angry, because he knew that Amaron had a perfect knowledge of his fraud. Yea, he knew that Amaron knew that it was not a just cause that had caused him to wage a war against the people of Nephi. And he said, behold, I will not exchange prisoners with Amaron, save he will withdraw his purpose, as I have stated in my epistle, for I will not grant unto him that he shall have any more power than what he hath got. Behold, I know the place where the Lamanites do guard my people, whom they have taken prisoners. And Amaron would not grant unto me mine epistle. Behold, I will give unto him according to my words. Yea, I will seek death among them until they shall sue for peace. And now it came to pass that when Moroni had said these words, he caused that a search should be made among his men, that perhaps he might find a man who was a descension of Laman among them. And it came to pass that they found one, whose name was Laman. Crazy, right? And he was one of the servants of the king, who was murdered by Alma. Now Moroni caused that Laman and a small number of his men should go forth unto the guards who were over the Nephites. Now the Nephites were guarded in the city of Gid. Therefore Moroni appointed Laman and caused that a small number of men should go with him. And when it was evening, Laman went to the guards who were over the Nephites, and behold, they saw him coming, and they held him. And he saith unto them, Fear not. Behold, I am a Lamanite. Behold, we have escaped from the Nephites, and they sleep. And behold, we have taken of their wine and brought with us. Now when the Lamanites heard these words, they received him with joy. And they said unto him, Give us of your wine, that we may drink. And we are glad that ye have thus taken wine with you, for we are weary. But Laman said unto them, Let us keep of our wine till we go against the Nephites to battle. What a weird thing to say, but okay. But this saying only made them more desirous to drink of the wine. For said they, We are weary, therefore let us take of the wine, and by we receive wine for our rations, which will strengthen us to go against the Nephites. And Laman said unto them, You may do according to your desires. And it came to pass that they did take of the wine freely, and it was pleasant to their taste. Therefore they took of it more freely, and it was strong, having been prepared in its strength. And it came to pass that they did drink and were merry, and by they were all drunken. And now when Laman and his men saw that they were all drunken and were in a deep sleep, they returned to Moroni and told him all the things that had happened. And now this was according to the design of Moroni. And Moroni had prepared his men with weapons of war, and he went to the city of Gid, while the Lamanites were in a deep sleep and drunken, and cast in weapons of war unto the prisoners, insomuch that they were all armed, yea, even to their women and all their children, as many as were able to use a weapon of war. When Moroni had armed all those prisoners, and all those things were done in a profound silence, but had they awakened the Lamanites, behold, they were drunken, and the Nephites could have slain them. But behold, this was not the desire of Moroni. He did not delight in murder or bloodshed, but he delighted in the saving of his people from destruction. And for this cause he might not bring upon him injustice. He would not fall upon the Lamanites and destroy them in their drunkenness. But he had obtained his desires, for he had armed those prisoners of the Nephites who were within the walls of the city, and had given them power to gain possession of those parts which were within the walls. And then he caused the men who were with him to withdraw a pace from them, and surround the armies of the Lamanites. Now behold, this was done in the night time, so that when the Lamanites awoke in the morning, they beheld that they were surrounded by the Nephites without, and that their prisoners were armed within. And thus they saw that the Nephites had power over them. And in these circumstances, they found that it was not expedient that they should fight with the Nephites. Therefore, their chief captains demanded their weapons of war, and they brought them forth and casted them at the feet of the Nephites, pleading for mercy. Now behold, this was the desire of Moroni. He took them prisoners of war, and took possession of the city, and caused that all the prisoners should be liberated, who were Nephites. And they did join the army of Moroni, and were a great strength to his army. It's pretty crazy. He just got them all drunk and freed all his people. He just basically drugged them all and got them all to have some wine. And it came to pass that he did cause the Lamanites, whom he had taken prisoner, that they should commence a labor in strengthening the fortification round about the city Gid. And it came to pass that when he had fortified the city Gid according to his desires, he caused that his prisoners should be taken to the city Bountiful. And he also guarded that city with an exceedingly strong force. And it came to pass that they did, notwithstanding all the intrigues of the Lamanites, keep and protect all the prisoners whom they had taken, and also maintain all the ground and the advantage which they had retaken. And it came to pass that the Nephites began again to be victorious, and to reclaim their rights and their privileges. Many times did the Lamanites attempt to encircle them about by night, but in these attempts they did lose many prisoners, and many times did they attempt to administer of their wine to the Nephites, that they might destroy them with poison or with drunkenness. But behold, the Nephites were not slow to remember the Lord their God in this their time of affliction. They could not be taken in their snares, yea, they would not partake of their wine, save they had first given to some of the Lamanite prisoners. And they were thus cautious that no poison should be administered among them, for if their wine would poison a Lamanite, it would also poison a Nephite. And thus they did try all their liquors. And now it came to pass that it was expedient for Moroni to make preparations to attack the city of Morienton. For behold, the Lamanites had by their labors fortified the city Morientum until it had become an exceeding stronghold, and they were continually bringing new forces in that city, and also new supplies of provisions. And thus ended the 20th and 9th year of the reign of the judges over the people of Nephi. Well, let's read chapter 56. I find it crazy that he just, they're over here talking about, they're so cautious about the Lamanites poisoning them because they poisoned them first. Not really poisoned them, but they got them drunk. They just got them the really good wine, So chapter 56 says, Helaman sends an epistle to Moroni, recounting the state of the war with the Lamanites. Antipas and Helaman gain a great victory over the Lamanites. Helaman's 2,000 strapling sons fight with miraculous power, and none of them are slain. Verse 1, now these years are in verses again. Let's read what it says. Verse 1 is about 62 BC. You know? Verse 2 to 19 are about 66 BC. And verses 20 through 57 are about 65 to 64 BC. You know, give or take, guys, right? And now it came to pass in the commencement of the 30th year of the reign of the judges, on the second day in the first month, Moroni received an epistle from Helaman, stating the affairs of the people in that quarter of the land. And these are the words which he wrote, saying, My dearly beloved brother Moroni, as well in the Lord as in the tribulations of our warfare. Behold, my beloved brethren, I have somewhat to tell you concerning our warfare in this part of the land. Behold, the 2,000 of the sons of those men whom Ammon brought down out of the land of Nephi. Now ye have known that these were dissenters of Laman, who was the eldest son of our father Lehi. Now I need not rehearse unto you concerning their traditions or their unbelief, for thou knowest concerning all these things. Therefore it suffereth me that I tell you that 2,000 of these young men have taken their weapons of war, and I would that I should be their leader, and we have come forth to defend our country. And now ye also know concerning the covenant which their fathers made, that they would not take up their weapons of war against their brethren to shed blood. But in the 20th and 6th year, when they saw our afflictions and our tribulations for them, they were about to break the covenant which they had made, and take up their weapons of war in our defense. But I would not suffer them that they should break this covenant which they had made, supposing that God would strengthen us, insomuch that we should not suffer more because of the fulfilling the oath which they had taken. But behold, here is one thing in which we may have great joy. For behold, in the 20th and 6th year, I, Helaman, did march at the head of these 2,000 young men in the city of Judah, to assist Antipas, whoever that is, whom ye had appointed a leader over the people of that part of the land. And I did join my 2,000 sons. In parentheses it says, for they are worthy to be called sons. Right? I guess they were just that good. To the armies of Antipas, and in which strength Antipas did rejoice exceedingly. For behold, his army had been reduced by the Lamanites, because their forces had slain a vast number of our men, for which cause we have to mourn. Nevertheless, we may console ourselves in this point, that they have died in that cause of their country and of their God, yea, and they are happy. And the Lamanites had also retained many prisoners, all of whom are chief captains, for none other have they spared alive. And we suppose that they are now at this time in the land of Nephi. It is so, if they are not slain. And now these are the cities of which the Lamanites have obtained possession by the shedding of the blood of so many of our valiant men: the land of Manti, or the city of Manti, and the city of Zerome, and the city of Cumin, and the city of Antipara. And these are the cities which they possessed when I arrived at the city of Judah. And I found Antipas and his men toiling with their might to fortify the city. Yea, and they were depressed in body as well as in spirit, for they had fought valiantly by day and toiled by night to maintain their cities, and thus they had suffered great afflictions of every kind. And now they were determined to conquer in this place or die. Therefore, you may well support that this little force which I brought with me, yea, those sons of mine, gave them great hope and much joy. And now it came to pass that when the Lamanites saw that Antipas had received a greater strength to his armies, they were compelled by the orders of Ammoron to not come against the city of Judah, or against us to battle, and thus we were favored of the Lord. For had they come upon us in this our weakness, they might have perhaps destroyed our little army, but thus we were preserved. They were commanded by Ammoron to maintain those cities which they had taken. And thus ended the 20th and 6th year. And in the commencement of the 20th and 7th year, we had prepared our cities and ourselves for defense. Now we were desirous that the Lamanites should come upon us. We were not desirous to make an attack upon them in their strongholds. And it came to pass that we kept spies out round about to watch the movements of the Lamanites, that they might not pass us by night nor by day to make an attack upon our other cities which were on the northward. For we knew in those cities they were not sufficiently strong to meet them. Therefore we were desirous if they passed by us to fall upon them in their rear, and thus bring them up in the rear at the same time they were met in the front. We supposed that we could overpower them. But behold, we were disappointed in this our desire. They durst not pass by us with their whole army, neither durst they with a part, lest they should not be sufficiently strong, and they should fall. Neither durst they march down against the city of Zarahemla, neither durst they cross the head of Sidon over the city of Nephah. And thus with their forces they were determined to maintain those cities which they had taken. And now it came to pass in the 2nd month of this year, there was brought unto us many provisions from the fathers of those my 2,000 sons. And also there were sent 2,000 men unto us from the land of Zarahemla, and thus we were prepared with 10,000 men and provisions for them, and also for their wives and their children. And the Lamanites, thus seeing our forces increase daily and provisions arrived for our support, they began to be fearful, and began to sally forth, if it were possible, to put an end to our receiving provisions and strength. Now when we saw that the Lamanites began to grow uneasy on this wise, we were desirous to bring a stratagem into effect upon them. Therefore Antipas ordered that I should march forth with my little sons to a neighboring city, as if we were carrying provisions to a neighboring city. And we were to march near the city of Antipara, as if we were going to the city beyond, and to the borders by the seashore. And it came to pass that we did march forth as if with our provisions to go to that city. And it came to pass that Antipas did march forth with a part of his army, leaving the remainder to maintain the city. But he did not march forth until I had gone forth with my little army, and came near the city of Antipara. And now in the city of Antipara were stationed the strongest army of the Lamanites, yea, the most numerous. And it came to pass that when they had been informed by their spies, they came forth with their armies and marched against us. And it came to pass that we did flee before them northward, and thus we did lead away the most powerful army of the Lamanites, yea, even to a considerable distance, insomuch that when they saw the army of Antipas pursuing them with their might, they did not turn to the right nor to the left, but pursued their march in a straight course after us. And as we suppose, it was their intent to slay us before Antipas should overtake them, and this that they might not be surrounded by our people. And now Antipas, beholding our dangers, did speed the march of his armies. But behold, it was night. Therefore they did not overtake us, neither did Antipas overtake them. Therefore we did camp for the night. And it came to pass that before the dawn of the morning, behold, the Lamanites were pursuing us. Now I just find it funny that they all just took a break at night. It's like, the moon's out, guys, can't see shit. Let's just all just take a nap. Alright, let's all call it a day. Even the Lamanites just like, nah, we ain't gonna keep chasing them. Let's just call it a night. Chase them in the morning. I love it. I love that even the Lamanites are just calling it a night and then they just take it up in the morning. This is hilarious. I love it. Now we were not sufficiently strong to contend with them, and I would not suffer that my little son should fall into their hands. Therefore we did continue our march, and we took our march into the wilderness. Now they durst not turn to the right nor to the left, lest they should be surrounded. Neither would I turn to the right nor to the left, lest they should overtake me. And we could not stand against them, but be slain. And they would make their escape. And thus we did flee all that day into the wilderness, even until it was dark. And it came to pass that again, when the light of the morning came, we saw the Lamanites upon us, and we did flee before them. And it came to pass that they did not pursue us far before they halted. And it was in the morning of the 3rd day of the 7th month. And now whether they were overtaken by Antipas, we knew not. But I said unto my men, behold, we know not, but they have halted for the purpose that we should come against them, that they might catch us in their snare. Therefore what say ye, my sons? Will ye go against them to battle? And now I say unto you, my beloved brother Moroni, that never had I seen so great courage, nay, not amongst all the Nephites. For as I had ever called them my sons. In parentheses it says, for they were all of them very young. Yes. Even so they said unto me, Father, behold, our God is with us, and he will not suffer that we should fall. Then let us go forth. We would not slay our brethren, if they would let us alone. Therefore let us go, lest they should overpower the army of Antipas. Now they never had fought yet. They did not fear death, and they did think more upon the liberty of their fathers than they did upon their lives. Yea, they had been taught by their mothers that if they did doubt God, God would deliver them. And they rehearsed unto me the words of their mothers, saying, We do not doubt, our mothers knew it. And it came to pass that I did return with my 2,000 against these Lamanites who had pursued us. And now behold, the armies of Antipas had overtaken them, and a terrible battle had commenced. The army of Antipas, being weary because of their long march and so short of a space of time, were about to fall into the hands of the Lamanites. And had I not returned with my 2,000, they would have attained their purpose. For Antipas had fallen by the sword, and many of his leaders because of their weariness, which was occasioned by the speed of their march, which was occasioned. It was caused by the speed of their march. Therefore, the men of Antipas, being confused because of the fall of their leader, began to give way before the Lamanites. And it came to pass, the Lamanites took courage and began to pursue them. And thus were the Lamanites pursuing them with great vigor, when Helaman came upon their rear with his 2,000, and began to slay them exceedingly, insomuch that the whole army of the Lamanites halted and turned upon Helaman. And now when the people of Antipas saw that the Lamanites had turned them about, they gathered together their men and came again upon the rear of the Lamanites. And now it came to pass that we, the people of Nephi, the people of Antipas, and I, with the 2,000, did surround the Lamanites, and did slay them. Yea, insomuch that they were compelled to deliver up their weapons of war, and also themselves as prisoners of war. And now it came to pass that when they had surrendered themselves up upon us, behold, I numbered those young men who had fought with me, fearing lest there were many of them slain. But behold, to my great joy, there had not one soul of them fallen to the earth. Yea, and they had fought as if with the strength of God. Yea, never were men known to have fought with such miraculous strength, and with much mighty power did they fall upon the Lamanites, that they did frighten them. And for this cause the Lamanites delivered themselves up as prisoners of war. And as we had no place for our prisoners, that we could guard them to keep them from the armies of the Lamanites, therefore we sent them to the land of Zarahemla. And a part of those men who were not slain of Antipas with them, and the remainder I took and joined them to my strapling Amalekites, and took our march back to the city of Judah. Well, that's ending was kind of confusing. So I guess he took half the prisoners. Someone took half the prisoners. Someone took the other half of the prisoners. All right. It's a good thing to decide to turn around, or else his friend there, Antipas, I'm assuming I'm saying his name right. I hope so, except that's what I've been. Antipas, yeah, okay, yeah. Because he almost got defeated there. But, you know, they defeated their enemies pretty well. Awesome. Well, I mean, a new character, so I don't know what to think about Antipas right now. I guess just some guy in some other parts of the Nephi area, you know. He lost a few cities, but, you know, trying to keep his main city, I guess. And then they tricked the Lamanites to come out so they could defeat those Lamanite armies. So they tricked them so they can beat them. That's what they did. That's what they did. That's pretty crazy. I mean, and they said this was the most numerous of the Lamanite armies. So like, I mean, they probably didn't send their whole army. They probably sent a chunk of it, but like they did. It probably was a decent chunk, just in case, right? You know, just in case it was like a trap. You know, 'cause the Lamanites know better than to just try to take over too many cities. They're trying to, you know, control the cities that they got right now. You know, so it's pretty interesting to see what their ideas of war here with the Lamanites and these Nephites and how they're trying to take each other over. It's interesting, a bit confusing here, but I'm getting it, you know. I'm understanding what's happening for the most part. But I hope you all enjoyed this episode. And I hope to see you all again in the next video episode. Alright? This is 58 signing off. Bye bye. I'll catch you all later, people. Okay?